LDL. So it tells you whether you have small, dense LDL or not. So let's say you came to me and your LDL is 150. But if it's all made up of large, fluffy, good, normal LDL, it's not going to be implicated in your inflammation or in your coronary artery disease. I leave that alone. But if you have small, dense LDL, that also is a problem because it's pointing me towards inflammation, because what causes small, dense, damaged LDL are glucose, omega-6, advanced glycation end products, toxins, and lipopolysaccharides that come from the gut, leaky gut. So now I just gave you the primer for treating coronary artery disease. These 5 things promote coronary artery disease, and it's small, dense LDL. Those macrophages, they engulf small, dense LDL, and those macrophages become foam cells. The endothelium has been already activated, so they bind to the endothelial lining.
What's the endothelium?
The endothelium is the lining of the artery in your coronary artery. So these white cells that are full of fat, the bad fat, attach themselves to it and then become endothelialized. That means they become part of the wall.
So they become a plaque.
Now you got it. That's making the plaque. You just hit it right on the head.
So how would I naturally lower my LDL without taking statins or any of these other medications? Is there a way to do it naturally?
You stay away from meat, yes. You've gone a vegetarian diet, yes, it'll come down. But there's no need to.
All meat?
All meat, because they'll all have cholesterol.
Even chicken?
Even chicken, yeah, if you want to bring it down. But the question is, do you really want to bring it down? Do you really want to bring it down? Later, the most recent data is very scary. It shows that patients who have the highest LDLs actually make it into the 90s and live a healthier life. It's not the LDL, it's the damaged LDL that's the problem. So the medical profession as a whole and all of us are having a problem grappling with this. Is it the total LDL that we should be concerned about? Point to your question. What is a normal cholesterol? And should we be lowering cholesterol? And the answer really is not that simple. What we should be doing is not to have small, dense LDL. So the question is,
where does that come
that's
from?
the issue. And small, dense LDL are 5 things. Sugar causes it, omega-6, advanced glycation end products, toxins, and leaky gut. They make your cholesterol become small, dense particles.
A lot of people are concerned about eating eggs because they think it might raise their cholesterol levels.
Absolutely no concerns whatsoever.
And what about statins? So a lot of people are prescribed statins when they have heart-related issues. Are they safe in the long run? Are they effective?
Okay, first part, are they safe? For the most part they are, but at least 20 to 30% of patients will suffer from sarcopenia, which is loss of muscles. So they'll get weakness, aches, pains. They'll get diabetes because it causes mitochondrial dysfunction. So they'll develop sugar problems. And many of them also do develop mental diseases. So I've seen that they become forgetful and they just can't think right. And I stop the statins and all of a sudden they start feeling better. So no, not all statins are safe. You need to monitor statins. Also, they can cause liver dysfunction. So you need to watch that. Number 2 is that the statins, are they effective? Effective in what? If the endpoint is to reduce your LDL, yeah, statins will bring your LDL down. But does that translate to a decrease in cardiovascular event rates? That's a totally different question, you see? So is your goal just to reduce the LDL, or is your goal to reduce the damaged, oxidized, small, dense LDL levels?
And when people say they have high blood pressure, that's because there's potentially a narrowing of their blood vessels. So the blood has less space to go through. So it's kind of like squeezing a hose pipe that it shoots out faster. Is that typically what it means by high blood pressure?
Sort of. Let me explain. When your insulin levels are running high, all your blood vessels and your capillaries all don't vasodilate properly.
Oh, okay. And vasodilation is the expansion and shrinking.
Yeah. So they don't vasodilate properly. So you will get high blood pressure. So one of the biggest things I've noticed with diabetes patients is when I bring their insulin levels down through my fasting program and dietary changes, the blood pressures go away. See, that's another thing. There's no such thing as essential hypertension. Essential hypertension meaning that You just have high blood pressure. There's always a cause. Either you have sleep apnea or you have hyperinsulinemia, because sleep apnea also causes hypertension. So hypertension does not always necessarily mean that you're going to be committed to blood pressure medications for the rest of your life.
I've heard you talk quite a lot about breakfast. People ask you about what they should have for breakfast because everybody wants to know how they should be starting their day. What is your advice on what we should be eating for breakfast to have a healthy heart and cardiovascular system?
Breakfast is a tough one. I tell most of my patients that if you absolutely have to have a breakfast, have a couple of eggs. And if you are a vegetarian, it makes it a little bit more tough. But you can have some kefir with 2 to 3 blueberries, 2 to 3 blackberries, and about 4 blueberries in it. And then you put your inulin powder in it, and that's your breakfast. That's all you should have. But a heavy breakfast, and also breakfast, in my opinion, breakfast we should pass breakfast for most adults and just go for lunch and dinner only, because then you can do your 18-6. If you're absolutely going to have breakfast, then you have breakfast and lunch and then no dinner. But you got to plan 18 hours. 18 hours is optimal, and we can do it. A lot of people say they can't do it, but most of us can do it. You will notice how much more energy you have. You know, when I do my OMAD, which I do at least 3 to 4 times a week, which I only have 1 meal a day, at 6 o'clock in the evening, I actually have more energy than I do in the morning.
What does your diet look like, doctor?
My diet?
Yeah.
I do eat meat, and I do eat fish, chicken, and turkey. But I sauce it right. Always make sure that it's grass finished. Always make sure it's organic. And I'll have small amounts of it.
Grass finished, grass fed?
Grass finished.
What does that mean?
Grass fed just means they took it out one day and put it out in the field. And they fed it some grass. So this advertising that industry does is a little deceiving. And I had to investigate this to find out. It's a lie. It has to be grass finished from beginning to end. So then it's going to have more omega-3 in it, it'll have more K2 in it, it'll have more nutrition in it, and it'll have less toxins also in it. So less omega-6. Because if your cows are eating corn, then you're going to get all that omega-6. And the cow is not supposed to be eating corn. Cow is supposed to be eating grass. So I do eat some meats and I eat some vegetables with it. Coming from a background, my great-grandfather's from India. We do eat Indian food as well. So we have some lentils and some curries, of course. So we can cook the meats in a curry form as well. I don't eat much chapatis because those are very full of carbs. I love the taste of it. I love naan once in a while.
And what do you supplement with? What's your supplement stack look like?
I take D3, K2. Omega-3, fish oil, so I take two capsules every day. Vitamin C, 1 gram. Inulin, kefir, I drink that every day, and I count that. Magnesium, and I take nattokinase. Nattokinase, I take about 8,000 units a day. What it is that it does thin the blood a little bit, so that you're less likely to make blood clots. Part of metabolic syndrome is a tendency to make blood clots and have a high fibrinogen level. My fibrinogen level was at the upper limits of normal, so I just take nattokinase. It doesn't cause any bleeding or any problems like that. And then I also take a probiotic. And it's basically is called Megaspores probiotic. So it's spores. There's no real bacteria in there. It's all spores.
What's a spore?
A bacteria can survive by sporulating. So it becomes a spore. So it's no longer a bacteria, it's a spore, but it'll germinate under the right circumstances. So these little things, they are the spores of the bacteria that are in soil. So soil has certain species of bacteria, the bacillus species. The spores I consume, they go in my gut because remember, if I take a probiotic, the acidity in my stomach is going to kill most of the bacteria.
So what does the spore do? Sorry.
So the spore passes through the stomach, goes all the way down to your intestines, and then it germinates there, it grows there. So now the spore becomes a bacteria.
Okay.
So it gets past that acidity of your stomach. So I do take that as a supplement as well.
Dr. J, what is the most important thing we didn't talk about that we should have talked about? For the people at home that have clicked on this episode. And, I guess one way that you might tackle this question is just by thinking about the most popular questions you get asked from your audience on a daily basis that we might not have covered today.
How can I screen myself right now? What tests should I do right now to see at what stage of inflammation and coronary artery disease am I in? Because coronary artery is the number one cause of death and inflammation is the underlying cause. So what tests should I be doing right now? That is an important question. If you're over the age of 30 and you have concerns, 1, get a coronary calcium score. If your coronary calcium score is 0, you have no calcium, then you are in a good place. If you have coronary calcium, you need to go see a good cardiologist that's going to do a prevention program because it means you already have atherosclerosis.
Atherosclerosis meaning plaque.
Hardening of the arteries.
Okay.
Number 2, you need a good blood test to look for inflammation. The blood test that I order is called a Cleveland Heart Labs. In it, you get your HDL, LDL, cholesterol, but you look at particle sizes. Is my LDL small, dense? If it is small, dense particles, is it oxidized? Yes, I have a problem. My CRP level, other inflammatory, interleukin-6, tumor necrosis factor, hemoglobin A1C, sugar level, all these are part of that panel of tests. So you should get a good inflammatory panel, which is the Cleveland Heart Labs. So those are the 2 things that everyone must do. Get a coronary calcium score, all adults, and do an inflammatory panel. Inflammation. You got to know whether you have, look, you may not feel inflammation. It's not like you get a big pimple and it's going to hurt you. But if you have inflammation in the body, yeah, you could know about it. How? You have mental fog. I'm not optimal, doc. My memory is going down. I'm depressed. Depression is inflammation. Depression is not something psychological, okay? Now this I have to stress to you, and I tell my patients, you come in and I'm depressed. You're depressed because that very symptom of depression is a symptom of your inflammation. You can be depressed about something that, oh, my car's not working very well. That's a difference from depression. Depression is inflammation in the brain. So you'll be surprised how many patients go on my anti-inflammatory diet, which is I change the diet and fix them all up, and the depression goes away. So ask yourself, not just questions about physically how you're feeling, but mentally also. And if the answer is that, doc, I'm not optimal, I'm forgetful, I'm depressed, I'm having sleep disturbance, I'm relation things, I've changed, my body's also changed, you have inflammation.
We have a closing tradition on this podcast where the last guest leaves a question for the next guest, not knowing who they're leaving it for. And the question that's been left for you is, what was the most difficult day of your life and how did you overcome it?
The most difficult day of my life was a very personal one for me. You know, when my dad passed away, and and I'm Dr. J. And when he was sick and he didn't want to go to the hospital, and then he passed away in his sleep, and then you always ask yourself, could I have done something differently? You second guess yourself. And that second guessing happened with him. Of course, it was very, very painful, but it happens with patients as well. But how did I overcome it? It taught me a lot about my own limitations as well, as a physician, as a son, as a scientist, as a reader. And that's why I'm motivated to do what we are doing here also, is to do the best you can to educate people.
What was he sick with? What was his predicament?
He was a cardiac patient already. And he's got a very interesting story. Actually, he was told that he only had a few years to live after he had bypass surgery. But then I put him through all the things we talked about today. He lost a lot of weight. He went from 185 pounds to 135 pounds. He changed his diet and he lived another 30 years. And he did another 6 world tours and traveled and he had a wonderful life. Okay? The impact of simple things that we can do to change his life. So he stopped drinking all alcohol as well, and he really had a very clean diet and everything else. But that night, he came down with some sort of infection. He had massive diarrhea and massive explosion. And I think that what really happened is he got overwhelmed. It's the gut. He got overwhelmed with a toxin from his gut, and then he passed away. But here's a man who lived to 89, who was supposed to have passed away in his 60s, and the impact. But the thing is that, we shouldn't second guess ourselves. We don't want to live in the past. I want to live in the present moment, not even in the future. So all these things have taught me to live in the moment. And one of the skills I've developed is just that when I'm with you, I'm only with you. If I'm doing your surgery, I'm only doing your surgery. If I'm having a conversation with you, you and I are the only people that matter right now. And this being in the moment, that ability to be that is something I learned over time. Because before, something bad happens, your next case, you're still reminiscing about that and you're regretting that. You can't do that. Life is only expressed in this moment. Right now. So learning how to live in the moment applies not only to me, but to everybody. We're all living in the past otherwise. Or we're worried about the future. So how do you learn present moment awareness and live in this moment so that we will be happier, we can do what we want to do, make the changes we need to make, get the courage and have the willpower to go out and make a difference to yourself and to everyone around you? Starts with you being here. Are you here? Or are you in your past? Or have you gone off into the future? That's a skill that medicine has taught me, and I've become humbled by it. And this is something that I have learned. And I want to pass on to all my patients too as well. Okay, so you've got all these things going on, but learn to live in the moment.
Dr. J, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the wisdom that you've shared with so many people. If people aren't familiar with you, you're extremely prolific and well-loved across the internet for the public education work you've done and the heightening of awareness of people's heart and their cardiovascular health more broadly. And until really before you started making videos online, a lot of this stuff was opaque. It was a mystery to a lot of people. And your YouTube channel has almost 1 million subscribers now. And you go through some of these subjects that we've talked about today in even greater detail. So I'd highly recommend people go and check you out there. But also just thank you for saving so many people's lives, because that's what you do day in, day out. And that's an incredibly, there's probably not a higher calling one can answer. So thank you for doing what you do. And I can see now why people love you so much online and on YouTube, because you're so incredibly engaging, I guess is the word, engaging, wise, and you make the information accessible in a way that I don't think has been done before. So thank you so much. It's a pleasure to meet you and to have this conversation with you. And thank you for enlightening my audience.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you.